So thank you so much for joining us tonight for Ask Wheaton. We have 5 individuals from organizations in the Wheaton community here to present what's going on in their area and answer your questions. So tonight we are going to start with Erica Bray-Parker from the Wheaton City Council. Erica holds a master's degree in political science, teaches civics at an area high school, and was elected as one of the 6 Wheaton City Council members in 2019. The nonpartisan City Council exercises policymaking, legislative, and financial powers in our city. So go ahead and take it away, Erica.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This is very exciting. And your skills on Zoom are to be commended. So well done. And also with the Wheaton Public Library in general, thank you for continuing to just make these programs available as, as we all move through this new world of Zoom. I just have to start off with maybe it's something a little funny. On my radio on the way to work, I saw the Aretha Franklin song from the 1980s, Who's Zoomin' Who? And I burst out into hysterics, right? Like everyone, Aretha, everyone is zooming everyone. So with that said, I guess what I want to start off with is that, yes, I've been on the City Council now since May of 2019. It's been just a pleasure. We meet almost every Monday night. But there's a lot that goes on that we get updated on during the week. I have to say I've consistently been impressed with the dedication that the staff from all over the place, the staff has to Wheaton and all good things Wheaton. And just as the whole community has, our community, our country, our world has continued to shift under COVID, I'm again just amazed and impressed at the different entities of the city. It's almost like it's the ultimate 2020 pivot, right? It's like this COVID pivot, and it's continual, and we just keep pivoting. So just a couple of things that I was gonna run off and gonna mention, and I know the other individuals here tonight, which I'm very pleased to be on this panel with. I have a lot of respect for all of you. I'm gonna just mention a few things that are going on that I thought some community members would be interested in. Since COVID, the city under the leadership of Mike Dzugan that you'll hear from, when in March, the first pivot was to safety. It was about safety, it was about PPE, it was about our police department and our fire department and the safety of all our entire staff, and then the safety of our community. So that was essential, and there were some fast moving actions, and I was impressed with all of that work. We then started to reach out to more of our, I guess you'd refer to them as a little more vulnerable members in our community. Made a lot of phone calls to elderly to make sure they're okay. They're under COVID, a little more vulnerable. And just a lot of really good, positive, proactive things that had to keep on moving. And then this summer, we, like the rest of the nation, also had issues of racial and social justice and the protests that took place in Wheaton. I was impressed with our community members. These were our community members that staged the protests and the sit-ins and the discussions. I attended several of them and was impressed with especially our young people. Our young people are speaking out on issues that are concerned to them. And the police department, once again, the Wheaton Police Department did a wonderful job. Very professional, handled it the whole situation very respectfully. There's been continuing dialogue, which I think is essential with not only the police department, but other entities of the city. So that's important. And then of course, the next pivot or the next 20 pivots was about small businesses and making sure and ensuring that our businesses are moving. And they're surviving, quite frankly, making sure that they're surviving. So the city's done a great job working with the DuPage County, working with the money that's come through the county with the CARES Act that Mike might mention a little bit more too. And that in the county and the health department, there's just a lot of moving parts to all of this. And then when it comes to the small business, you know, the Downtown Wheaton Association, you'll hear from Elle in a little bit here, but the Downtown Wheaton Association has been essential in making sure that our small businesses are still being promoted. You have the Wheaton to Go page, which was amazing. In June, we had a lot of attention with the Pride celebrations, which was a great point as well. And the Chamber also, you'll hear from Vickie, the Chamber with the whole of Wheaton and involving the businesses and getting the businesses the help they need, right? So it's confusing if you're a small business owner to all of a sudden understand what does this PPP mean and how am I getting these loans and what are these grants through the county. So I commend both Elle and Vickie and the work that they're doing with getting our small businesses, you know, keep moving. And then of course the Wheaton Public Library, you know, Betsy and all her staff has done an amazing job. Again, 1,000 pivots later, right? Here's where we're at. We're in this amazing Zoom meeting, hearing from the leaders in Wheaton about what's going on in Wheaton and the programs that you've been offering with the public library. And I know, again, almost every week there's a shifting point. And Betsy's done a great job with I think all of you have done a great job in keeping the safety of individuals number one, and then how can we open up and continue to manage our lives and move forward in this situation. And the collaboration that's been done through, you know, the library and the schools, the park district and what's going on in the library, a lot of great things going on. And communication's been essential too. Right now, the city has a Mask Up Wheaton program going on, so you should check out your social media. Susan Bishel's done a great job with that at the city level. Just trying to get people, you know, keeping people engaged and most importantly, keeping people informed when things are going on. That seems to be the number one issue here. So I guess that's a bit of what's going on here. Again, I've really enjoyed my time so far on the City Council. I look forward to, you know, continuing with almost 3 years now left on my term. And we have some tough decisions to be making. Revenues are, like most places, we're getting concerned about revenue. But we definitely have been on top of things as best as we can be. So the people of Wheaton should feel confident that, you know, what's being done what can be done is being done. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Erica. There aren't any questions yet, but I will remind people to go ahead and open up their Q&A window and put any questions in there. One thing that occurred to me as you were speaking, as you mentioned communication, I'm just wondering if someone wanted more information about what was going on in the city, or if they had questions, what would be some of the best places to look for that type of information, the communication from the city?
First of all, our website of Wheaton City, Mike might have to help me out on this one, the actual web address.
It's wheaton.il.us.
So wheaton.il.us.
I think.
So when you get to that right away, there's some COVID information if that's of concern. And there are definitely some great drop-down menus, lots of information. We also have a newsletter that I would highly recommend people to sign up for the newsletter. It's very well done, some hot topics kind of stuff. But Mike, I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, I think if you visit our website, you're going to get access to all of the social media connections or links that you need to find out what's going on in the city. We do send out, I think, a newsletter every week, every 2 weeks that has all kinds of information in it. We send out news releases. So we really do try to keep people informed. We have a Facebook presence, Twitter presence. So any of those areas you can find out about Wheaton.
Okay. All right. Someone mentions that the Wheaton TV channel number 10 is very helpful for information as well. All right. I guess if there aren't any other questions at this point, since you're on the screen already, Mike, we will continue with you. Mike Dzugan was appointed by the City Council to become City Manager in 2016 after serving as the Assistant City Manager for 24 years. He is the Chief Administrative Officer, overseeing, coordinating, and responsible for the daily operation of all city departments. So thank you for being here, Mike.
Well, thank you for having me. I think what I want to focus on is the city as an employer. We have many, many roles, but primarily my role is to manage what we do on a day-to-day basis. So I thought what I would do is focus more on what we do as an employer. I thought that might help some people. I think we would all agree on this panel and the participants out there viewing us that 2020 has certainly been a very, very challenging year thus far. I hope it's going to get better. For the city, we were required to manage a major health threat starting in March. We're continuing to manage that, and I think we'll be managing in the future. That major health threat, obviously, is COVID-19. We also had to manage flooding. In May, we had a significant storm event in May, and we had a number of properties that were flooded, so we were managing that situation. As Erica mentioned, we also managed the potential for civil unrest. Fortunately, we did not have any. We had very peaceful protests, but we had to manage for the worst, I guess. And then finally, believe it or not, we had an EF1 tornado, barely touched down in Wheaton, but I can still call it a tornado that we had in Wheaton. So we had all that in 5 or 6 months. Most managers don't realize that for 30 years. So we've had a lot on our plate in the last 5 or 6 months, but by far the pandemic was the most demanding. With good reason, we measure the pandemic's impact in terms of one's physical health and the economic fallout. Obviously, both categories were very devastating. But for me, through the interaction of others lately, I've come to the realization that we really need to be more mindful of the human emotional distress that the pandemic is having on all of us. So I wanted to walk through with you and give you a sense of some of the ranges of emotions that the city's leadership team was experiencing as we were going through different phases of the pandemic. First off, the city's leadership team, first emotion was when the virus became community spread. I think we had emotions of fear and uncertainty. That led to a really high level, very rapid planning effort by the leadership team, which I think created a certain amount of anxiety about the unknown, and certainly the feeling that we were all unprepared because we really didn't know what was ahead of us. Once we gained a deeper appreciation for the virus, I think we came together in a very strong way, and we began to manage the virus as best we could, and I really do believe we did a very good job with that. I saw city employees pulling together to provide needed services to the public, and in many instances, in very unique ways. We were required to rethink how we were going to effectively deliver services on services that we had been doing for many, many years, and we were thrust into figuring out how we were going to do that differently and still be effective. And again, I think we were very, very successful. And you see some of that with what the library is doing, what we were doing in our police department, what we were doing in the public works department. I think we still delivered those services effectively in a strained environment. I can say a lot of energy was spent during that initial period. I saw, again, our team rise to the challenge to not only address the pandemic, but also at the same time, while the pandemic was going on, the flooding, the potential for civil unrest, and then a tornado. In June, I felt we were in a way getting back to normal. We were actually making progress. We had retail open, we had restaurants open, religious services were being offered again. We were no longer staying at home. There really was, at least I felt, a sense of optimism. Then in late July, I believe our staff, and myself included, started experiencing this feeling of just discouragement. The virus just wasn't going away. It was lasting longer than we expected. And certainly that was all true if we were listening to the experts, right? They said it was going to last well, but I think none of us believed it. But really, I think we all got this discouragement, like, heck, how long is this thing going to last? I've been working my tail off trying to make this work. And I think there was a big level of discouragement. I believe our staff now is at a point where there's a certain level of exhaustion and frustration. And I can honestly say that I'm sharing those same emotions. Realizing all that, we here at the city are trying to get back to what I would call normal city business. The city council and our boards and commissions are meeting again. Yes, they're doing it in a different way, but again, they're trying to conduct business. We are moving forward with certain policy decisions. We're going to be meeting about our strategic planning process. We're going to be talking about other policy issues such as Roosevelt Road, stormwater, sanitary sewer, and I hate to admit that it brings a certain amount of normalcy, our budget. I didn't think I'd be happy to see a budget, but I guess I'm happy now because it brings some normalcy to what we're doing. I guess I'll wrap it up by suggesting to everyone that the physical mitigation efforts, the social distancing, washing hands, wearing masks, staying at home when you're having symptoms are all very important to do, and we need to continue to do those. But for me, at this point, I really think it's very, very important that we recognize the emotional well-being of oneself and that of others as the pandemic persists.
Thank you, Mike. Again, for our attendees, please be sure to open up your Q&A window. I think everybody's still absorbing the information, but if you have any particular questions, Mike, it has been good to see all of the capital improvements, I guess is the best way to put it, continue. Construction on the roads is continuing, and we're seeing those things continue to be improved around the city. We certainly appreciate all of those workers and how hard they've been working despite everything, wearing masks in the heat and everything else. So we appreciate that and how it's been able to keep going on. All right, there don't seem to be any questions right now, so we'll go ahead to our third panelist, Vickie Austin. Vickie began her career coaching and consulting business in 1997. She recently became the president and CEO of the Wheaton Chamber of Commerce. The chamber fosters meaningful business relationships and advocates on issues impacting the local economy. So thank you for being here tonight, Vickie.
Thank you so much. And to all of the panelists, as well as all of the attendees, I see some wonderful colleagues, friends, chamber members, and wonderful supporters of the chamber in our attendee list. So it's great to see everyone. As you mentioned, I just recently, like practically minutes ago, was appointed president. I'm so honored to take on this role. I've been a longtime chamber member for close to 20 years, maybe a little over 20 years. I started when I was vice president of marketing at Marion Joy. And then when I started my own business, the first check I wrote was to the Wheaton Chamber of Commerce. And I love sharing that because it's symbolic of me devoting the very first resources I had as a business person to joining an organization like the Chamber, where my real intention was not so much to get business out of the Chamber, although I have really reaped wonderful connections and rewards and referrals through the Chamber. But my real reason for becoming a member of the Chamber was to learn. I was a brand new entrepreneur. I knew nothing about running my own business. I had taken a couple of classes at the College of DuPage on consulting and entrepreneurship. But other than that, I jumped in with both feet. And it was the people that I met through the Chamber by being active, by participating on committees and being part of the board. That's really how I learned about running a business. So I feel like I have this inside out understanding of what a chamber can be. We, like the rest of you who have spoken and who will speak, are pivoting. That's a word that has gotten a lot of traction. We are pivoting to be of service and to be useful to our members in a time when we can no longer, at least for now, meet face to face. And much of the chamber activities revolved around events, because that's how people get to know each other. That's how people get to connect with each other, both formally and informally. So we are working diligently to create programming. And Mike, that was such a great segue for one of our upcoming programs, which I'll share about in more detail as we've got the speakers and the time and date set. But we are looking at a panel for staying sane during a pandemic. With the understanding, we've already got commitments from people at NAMI, and we're looking for, so if you know of people who are therapists who are dealing with emotional health issues, let us know, and you can recommend them for an upcoming program on just some of the emotional toll that this is taking. From the beginning, I felt fairly strongly that it's not going to be the same ever. And I say that not to sound maudlin, but to ignite and excite people about creating something new. And that was one of the reasons I was so honored and privileged to accept this job at the Chamber, because I think we're going to be reinventing what chambers are, what any association is, a group of people coming together to share resources, to refer to each other, to learn, to mentor. I think Dale Showalter is on our call tonight. He's leading an effort through the Ambassadors Club, which is the more seasoned group, let's put it that way, the more seasoned group of professionals who've served on the board over the years. We're creating a mentoring program. We just had our first virtual business after hours. It was wonderful. I'm so sorry you all weren't there, because if you had come, well, we could probably still give you a straw with an umbrella in it. So we're trying to, how do you recreate, or how do you replace a business after hours when we're, used to gathering in a restaurant or a bar with the noise and the fun and the food? You can't. We have to create something new. We have to create something of equal value, but something that gives us an opportunity to connect. Tomorrow morning, we're having our very first, what we're calling Members Matter. We'll play on words because our newsletter is Monday Matters. So this is Members Matter. And it's not a new member orientation, it's an all member orientation. So that people who are struggling to support and sustain their businesses can learn all of the ways that the Chamber can help with that. There are a lot of what I call bells and whistles in our database that can help individual members or companies to elevate their visibility, whether it's through posting job postings, press releases, your stories and your photos. We're always looking for those. So Erica used the words to engage and to inform. And I would say that is across the board. Our mission too is to continue to engage and inform our members, to retain members as well as to recruit new members. And I'm proud to say that we've had at least one new member every month for the last 5 months. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the library. Betsy knows that I am a little head over heels about the library. When Betsy came on board as our new executive director, she flung open the doors of the library to businesses and forged a very strong relationship with the Chamber of Commerce almost immediately, and allowed business owners who have businesses in Wheaton, who may not reside in Wheaton, but who have businesses in Wheaton, to give us, I live in Wheaton both and work in Wheaton, but to give all businesses who are Chamber members access to the library. And that the databases, the rich resources, the Business Resource Center, which is all of those wonderful resources are now available to our members, thanks to the foresight of Betsy Adamowski. So thank you, Betsy, for that partnership with the Chamber. And I would be remiss as a marketer if I didn't give a plug to BizBooks Review, which I've been doing with the library and will continue to do, I hope, with the library in my new role as Chamber President. So that's a once a month. And again, we pivoted to virtual. We've been having wonderful virtual meetings where we look at business books that are relevant to business owners. So It's a new day, it's a new future. I don't know what it's going to look like. None of us know what it's going to look like. I was on one call early on in being an interim president when someone literally asked me, well, when are we going to be able to come out and open up? And I was like, I don't know. None of us know. But I believe in all of the things that Erica and Mike said about the city and the wonderful resources that the Downtown Wheaton Association, all together, all of these resources are, I think we are going to create something pretty amazing as we go forward into the future.
Thank you so much, Vickie. We appreciate that. There is a comment and a question here. The downtown revitalization plans have Hale and Liberty as festival streets. I love how Hale has turned into a 6-month festival. I can't wait to see how these streets will be used when we are post-COVID. Congratulations for the great success of the tent. Here's the question. Any ideas on how we can encourage people to visit downtown and other Wheaton businesses once the weather gets cold? Any suggestions for that, Vickie?
Sure. Right now, we're really taking that as it comes, right? Because every day there's new things coming out. Even today, there were new guidelines that came out. But we worked really, really well with the city and the mayor and city council to come up with appropriate guidelines, and also our team at the DWA to think outside the box of what we can do to keep bringing people in the downtown that stays, that number one, it thinks about the safety of the community, but then also thinks about the needs of the businesses. So that's a fine line, and we're constantly trying to meet that, but new things will be coming up, and we'll be announcing those soon for October.
Yeah, thank you, Elle. And this other comment might be similar before we hand the microphone to you officially. Someone else says, I've really enjoyed the outdoor dining on Hale and understand that this has been done out of necessity with COVID-19. Is this something the city will continue to support as an option even after all of this gets back to quote unquote normal?
Sure. And that's a question we're getting a lot right now, but the main thing we're doing right now is we need to finish up this season. We need to finish up where we're at right now and reassess and have some time to sit back and see what the next steps are going to be. So that's not something that we can answer right now, but we know that it's a question that's out there. But right now, it's all a matter of keeping the businesses in business and moving forward.
Right, right. And I just want to finish reading the comment because it will inform perhaps what you decide to do. This person says it seems to be not only good for additional business for these great restaurants, but also has provided a lot of great evenings with live music and livens up the downtown. So obviously, right. I'm sure you're hearing a lot of feedback from the community. And here's another question, and I'm not sure that this is going to be particular to you, Elle, so anybody could jump in to answer this one. The question is, what is the city doing about mask enforcement, or is it up to each business establishment? I don't know if you or Vickie.
I'll try to handle that one. It is legally, statutorily, through the governor's order, up to our police department to enforce it. I think we're not using a heavy hand, if you will. We're being diplomatic. We're talking to business owners in a way that would encourage them to comply with the executive order. So I guess we're communicating the need to do that. We're not using the strong arm of the law, if you will, to require it. But again, I think it's something that we're talking to business owners with, and obviously encouraging them to do it.
And
right.
if I can add to that too, what I've seen from the city council level is a very proactive, the city and the DWA and even the chamber and the library, I mean, a lot of entities are doing a very proactive encouragement of masks, of programs, of common signage. I mean, it's a lot of, I'm a high school teacher. I gotta tell you, it's a lot of classic behavior modification technique, and it's good. It's good positive thing. It's good positive behavior, encouraging good positive behavior. Some of the complaints that have made it to City Council and the mayor, again, like Mike said, it's been handled in a very positive, proactive way, and we've seen issues resolved. And you know, people are practicing safe measures like we're supposed to. So it's worked pretty well so far, and we just continue to encourage people to abide by those rules that have been, you know, that are best for our health.
Right. Right. Okay. Thank you. There aren't any additional questions right now, so we'll be turning the floor over to Elle. Elle Withall is the Executive Director of the Downtown Wheaton Association, which oversees over 120 centralized businesses and works to make downtown a vibrant destination. She previously held positions specializing in economic development and retail recruitment for the second largest city of Illinois. So Elle, we'll turn the mic over to you.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here tonight with so many people that have really been in the trenches together during this, lots and lots of long hours, and we're still in it. So the DWA does oversee the downtown business district. And, you know, I think I always say we're in August, but mentally sometimes I still feel we're in March because that weekend, you know, we're looking across, you know, the world at a pandemic, and next thing you know, it's in our backyard. And our entire business district shut down in a matter of days, completely shut down. And I had been on the job about 3 months when that happened. So everything got thrown out the window. And we thought, okay, what do we need to do and what can we do? And the number one thing we needed to do was say, we're going to hit the ground running, and we need to look at the governor's order and see what we are allowed to do to help our businesses stay in business. And one of the easiest things at that time was to really focus on the restaurants. Because there was still some components that we could work with in regards to curbside and those kind of things. So we worked with the city, we worked on curbside parking, we changed a lot of those elements. Behind the scenes, a lot of people in the community don't realize logistically what a nightmare it is for businesses to have to pivot and pivot so quickly. Supply chains were compromised, staff was gone. Some didn't even have phone lines to take curbside orders. They were using their kids' cell phones. There were just so many different things in that just to get to a place where they could be open in some capacity. So that's just one example. But those examples kept going and going and going. You had retailers that had no e-commerce systems. They didn't have websites that were developed enough to convert to, you know, have customers use or purchase anything from them. So these were all different things that we had to really figure out fast how we could help our business district stay in business. Some of the things that we did is we worked very closely with banks to help them with their PPP money so that they could stay in and do what they could with that. Another thing we did is we created the Wheaton to Go page. We have almost 6,000 members. That was created as a landing site. Our office didn't have the bandwidth to keep up with all the businesses and the changes and who was open and who wasn't and what were the hours. And we also needed to give the community a place to land, to support them. And to see how they could also help them. It's almost 6,000 people strong now. With our original Facebook page, we're the most followed page in all of Wheaton now. And that has been a phenomenal asset for the business district and all the businesses in Wheaton, really to help promote them and market them during such a difficult time. And it's also free. So, you know, that was another thing. No one had any money to do anything. So that was another good thing with that we were able to bring to the table. The Hale Street tents, as the guidelines changed, we had to change with those. And usually those would come out and we had maybe a day left to get to that next phase, which, you know, to Mike's point, was exhausting, and it left everybody frazzled, and you're moving and you're having to think out of the box all the time, but you're kind of in this stage of, okay, what's next, and how do we pivot to make sure that the businesses can stay open. So I think we talked to city mayor and city council on a Tuesday, and we had the tents up by a Friday. I'm pretty sure we may have gotten the last tents in all of Illinois, but we got them up, and it's been a phenomenal thing for our downtown. Not only has it helped to keep the businesses up, it's actually created a destination for our downtown. The feedback that we get from Naperville and Glen Ellen and people calling just saying, how did you do it? And how did you do it like this? And I have to say that all credit goes to the partnerships. The city council, the mayor, everyone really came together to make this happen. And because of COVID-19, this is one good thing that came out of it that's really changed our downtown and kind of made it a destination for so many other communities. So that's a few things that we did on our end, the DWA, to work to keep businesses in business.
Thank you very much. There is at least one question here. Someone asks, any news on the Sandberg Building? I heard that they were moving stock out of the building, getting ready to sell. Is this true? And then what would you like to see here in that location, as it is such a cornerstone property?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great property for the downtown. I think it's too early to say exactly what that's going to be. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on that corner property, but there is some movement, and we're excited about that. And one focus that the DWA has is business recruitment. That's my sweet spot. It's what we really work on in our office, and one thing we want to do, and do it very well in the downtown, to bring other businesses in. So that'll be one area and one great building to develop for our downtown.
Yeah, I would only add to that, it's moving in a positive direction, is about the amount of information I can give, so it is positive.
Great, thank you. Okay, again, just a reminder to our attendees, if you have any questions, please go ahead and open up your Q&A window. You can also put things in the chat, but it helps us to manage them a little bit better if you put it in the Q&A. Again, that's along the bottom of your screen. Finally, tonight we have Betsy Adamowski. Betsy has been the Executive Director of Wheaton Public Library for almost 7 years. Under her leadership, the mission of the library is to be a welcoming destination that connects the community to literacy, information, ideas, and experiences. So we'll turn the mic over to you, Betsy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for participating on this panel on behalf of the Wheaton Public Library. Thank you, Barry. You truly do have Zoom skills. Wow. Barry does this every day, all day long, and she clearly is an expert at it. I'm impressed. Everything that everyone has said today has definitely been almost a mirror of what I'm going to be saying tonight. And I have done this speech many times, different places, different levels, and so forth. So I'm just going to start, though, at the beginning, because I think that's a really important place for us to start. As Elle, with the restaurants and some of the retail, we were not essential. However, we have employees, we have buildings to maintain, we have operations to get through, and how are we going to do that, and where are we going to start? And I can't thank the city enough for supporting the library during this entire process. But it was an amazing staff that I had right by my side to say, all right, what's our strategic goals of the library, and what is the mission of the library? And we needed to push forward with that. We knew we needed to, even though we were not essential, the building, we knew that we were essential because we needed to be a lifeline to our schools and to our businesses who needed help with their learning and curriculum And with grants and finding money, we had people who were out of business now needed to get a job, and they're polishing up the resumes and on and on and on. So we definitely knew we had a role to play. Unfortunately, like the restaurants, we didn't have the equipment to do that. So sending our staff home with no, they didn't have computers, they didn't have iPads, so we literally dismantled a lot of the equipment throughout the entire library and just sent it home with people. One staff member needed to have a hotspot, so we got her a hotspot. She didn't have internet. She was a reference librarian. We set up the phone number in their home so that they can do reference from home. And our children's staff got really savvy, and they have gotten a lot better in the last couple of months on how they do their story times and programming from their home. Many of them right there in their bedrooms, in their laundry rooms. And I love one person did a makeshift, was a board member. She did a makeshift table office in her bathroom. So people were getting creative with how that, yeah, she put a table on the top of the toilet, and that's what she said. So Lori Matanchik, if you're listening, that's you, because her kids all needed a room, so she got the bathroom. So anyway, we all got creative, and what came out of that was a sense of community, and a sense of unity, and a sense of team playing. And again, I'll go back to the city and Mike and Holly, the HR director, for listening to me and answering my cell phone at all times of the day to get me through this, because it was tough. On top of it, as you all did, we had to learn what was COVID, what was it going to be. It was a constant moving target for us. The mandates were always changing. The definitions were always changing. Do you need masks? Do you not need masks? Do you need PPE? Do you not need PPE? It's like crazy. But together, we all came together. And there were, people who curled up in a ball. I love saying that. They curled up in a ball, and they just kind of were like, we could not afford to do that to our community. Our schools needed us. We saw our library card registration jump up to such a high level, because now all of a sudden those people were like, oh my God, where's my library card? And they can't find it, and they need the PIN number, so we created a link for them to get to us so that they can get their library card and start downloading their materials and so forth. We definitely became a lifeline to people who maybe were living alone, who had no one to talk to. A lot of our patrons that come in, we are the only people they talk to. We are their life. We are their connection to the world. We're the people they talk to about the movie they saw last night or the TV show or what have you. So my staff, God bless them, started calling those people. And they started to create phone relationships with them to say, are you okay? And do you have somebody to talk to? And then as that kind of got calmed down, and we knew that our patrons were okay, then we were okay. We weren't lying when we said that we really, truly missed our patrons. We really, truly missed them. And they're our family, they're our life. And so we took the stay-at-home order very seriously here, and we built our virtual library up from the ground. The building, only I was allowed in the building along with our IT manager and the deputy director. We really, truly did not let anyone have any reason to come out to the library, so we closed the book drops and everyone kept their books. Whoa. Unfortunately, when the book drops opened, all those books came back, and it was crazy. We have quarantined the books for 5 days when we first did that, and that itself was a whole operation. We now only quarantine the books for 3 days. We now have, at this point in time, we recognize that everybody is in a different comfort level. I think I'm a little too calm, too easygoing. I'm forcing myself to be a little bit more, but some people really truly are not leaving their homes. So we now have 3 models. We have the virtual model so that you can get everything you need from for digital or from your phone. We also have the curbside service where you can order everything that you need. We will gather it up for you and we will put it in your trunk for you. So you do not even have to roll your window down. You can literally take a piece of paper and say, this is my name, and people do that. We also then have the grab and go, which you literally come in, you grab it, and you go. And it is, we do have our computers open for 30 minutes because we do recognize that there are people who do not have computer or internet access to home, and they truly do need to connect to the world. So we are their connection. Masks are definitely required. We now have a half-sheet page, which we have used repeatedly for a few of our people who don't believe that they need to wear masks. They have a medical condition, they have an allergy, you can't tell me I have to wear my mask. We hand them the paper and we say, when you walk in the building, you must have a mask. If you're not comfortable wearing a mask or you have a medical problem with a mask, we encourage you to do curbside service, or we encourage you to do the virtual library. We have given them 100% accommodation, so you do not need to use the building right now to use the library. And so long as we continue that, we will continue with that philosophy. We have not seen the people come back in hordes. I'm almost embarrassed to say that the day we opened up the doors, I really thought we'd have lines draped around the building. It didn't happen. We didn't even have a line. People want us open, but they didn't want to come. And so we, last July, we had about 56,000 people in the month. This July, probably for the 3 weeks, I would estimate it to be about 13,000. We definitely saw a drop in our attendance, but we're still the highest attendance for the libraries surrounding us. So it's still important to me. I always have to be the best. At this point in time, as we push out into the future, we continue to want to make sure that when we do open full service, we open safely as possible. As Vickie said, we are not going to ever look the same, just like we don't travel the way we did pre-9/11. Libraries will never look the same post-COVID. We will take I think we will take our pandemics a lot more seriously. We will take our flu season a lot more seriously. We will use our sneeze guards. We will use our PPE. And I truly, truly believe that our staff is now very aware to use their sick days. We never did that before. It was almost like a code of honor. I haven't used any of my sick days. But we are going to be adding more express stations. We're going to do a little bit of construction work to get the library ready for social distancing. We have some staff spaces that need to be better equipped and so forth. So there will be some minor construction going on in the library, and hopefully we'll be ready when stage 5 happens so that we can be open safely for everyone. Our key right now is to keep our staff safe. If I keep my staff safe, they will stay sane and they won't leave. We had pre-COVID 78 staff positions. We now have 61. We have lost a lot of staff. So right now we are operating at 44 hours a week, which is what 61 staff members can operate. If we increase our hours, I have to increase staff. And I just don't know if that's wise because we just don't know if the lights are going to go off again. So running a library during the pandemic, being a building of sharing materials and sharing people is not a fun thing to do during the pandemic because everything that you take out comes back. And we don't know where it was. And so with that, we will continue to quarantine. We will continue to grab and go. We do not have tables and chairs. Our study rooms are used for staff, and our big meeting rooms are used for quarantine. So that's where we're at right now, and that's where we're going to stay. And we're, as Elle said, we continue to navigate it week by week. Just today, we have another mandate. Yes. So we navigate it week to week, and I cannot project the future. And people say, well, what do you think? When do you? I'm like, I don't know.
I know.
I don't know. Don't ask me. All I can do, and I will tell you all my predictions have been wrong. Every one of my predictions has been wrong. I truly thought that we would not see people until January. And God darn it, the governor had to go and open. I'm like, well, and we had to run around and get it done. But anyway, with that, it's a joy to run this library in this city. It's a joy to work with all of you. None of you curled up, and I admire you for that. And you truly were what I needed to keep going. You're the reason why I come here every day. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Betsy. Just a couple library-related questions here. Are people taking advantage of the free Wi-Fi the library offers because you can sit outside at the tables or close in the park or in the parking lot?
Yes, they definitely are. And it's really funny because, like I said before, there was only 3 of us that were allowed in the building. And so it was kind of funny sometimes to leave the building at night and then there's all these cars in the parking lot. We truly saw a lot of cars use our parking lot once the word got out that we were definitely a hot spot. And I was so happy to see that, you know, and I think it was a lot of them were just parents wanting to get away from their kids. But yes, we definitely are seeing people using our Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has a fairly good reach. So another question about how the library sanitizes the books as they come in.
The best sanitizer for a book is time. It's time. Do not spray anything on your materials. We don't. That is just mold. I mean, think about that. The best quarantine, the best sanitizer is time. And for us, and it was a global study that was done, and it is 3 days has been the general number. So I have those studies if anybody's interested in them, but 3 days.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, again, just to our attendees, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and put those either in the chat or in the Q&A window. It's the icon along the bottom edge of your screen. It looks like 2 talking bubbles. We'd love for you to go ahead and enter your questions there. There is another one here. We have a great team in Wheaton, those that have been able to pivot fast, especially like Elle with those tents, have helped those of us in business so very much. The partnership with the city and the city council has been essential. So a big thank you to all of you. I don't know if there are any other comments or questions out there as we close tonight. Thank you so much to each of our presenters. We really appreciate your time and energy putting this together for us and being available and telling us what's going on in your area, what's going on in town. I don't know if there are any additional ideas for how we can be supporting our local businesses. I know obviously we want to shop local and eat local, but I don't know if there are any other suggestions for how we can be supporting the local businesses.
I would say patience with them right now is very, very important. You know, they are constantly in a stage that they have to adapt and everything's fluid, and they're nowhere near where they were. So I would say that that's not only do they need your support, but they do need your patience, because even today there were changes and there are a lot of things they can't enforce, but that they will be held accountable if you're not wearing a mask is a perfect example. You know, so those are just some areas that I would say that the support is so important, but also a level of grace and patience as we're all just trying to navigate through this.
Absolutely, thank you. And Vickie, did you have something else to add?
I did. I just wanted to add that one of the, and Erica, you mentioned the social unrest. I think Mike, you did too, that, you know, having to accommodate or respond to potential protests. One of the things Carrie O'Brien, the previous chamber president, told me was, she assured me that there's no such thing as a chamber emergency. However, I found myself one night having to decide with staff, talking about whether we were going to board up the windows of the chamber. We chose not to. I'm glad that we didn't, but I understand why people did. And out of that came a conversation at our board level led by Cheryl Henriksen, our chairperson of the board of the Wheaton Chamber, about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so that's a topic. We've sent out a survey to our members, and we welcome not just members, but the community, those of you on the call, contribution and feedback regarding what is the role of a chamber in that conversation, and how can we best support the development of our community going forward when there are these systemic changes happening in our world, not just COVID related, but related to the Black Lives Matter movement and just all of the changes that are happening in our economy. So we welcome participation in that conversation, and that I can tell you that 20 years ago, that is not a conversation I would have heard or expected at a Wheaton Chamber get together. And so I think, again, there's an opportunity for us all to go deeper. As you said, Betsy, you've had conversations with your staff and looking to see how can we best serve the people, our constituents, in a way that is brand new and maybe even more amazing than before, because we are reaching out in a way that we didn't in the past. So I look forward to that and appreciate all of the support of the people in this round table, square table, square boxes, and all those who participated tonight, all the attendees.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank
So
you.
again, yeah, thank you so much to each of our panelists again for taking the time to do this. I will, if you have your chat box open, I will just mention that we did find the link that was mentioned way at the beginning. It is www.wheaton.il.us, and that's another one of those sources for information as we move forward. But we've got a great amount of information tonight. So thank you so much to each of our panelists. We appreciate your time. Thank you for everyone tuning in tonight. This program has been recorded, and it will be put up on our YouTube page within the week. So if you miss something, you want to hear it again, or if you'd like to recommend it to a friend or a neighbor that's interested in what's going on around town, again, that will be on the library's YouTube page within a week, and we'd be happy to send the link out to you. So again, thank you to everyone for participating, for your time tonight. Have a great evening, and everybody stay safe. Thanks so much for being here.